The year 2011 was an important milestone for 18 First Nations along the coast and the province of British Columbia. That was the year that those nations and the province agreed to co-develop marine use plans for the North Pacific coast under the auspices of what's now known as MAP, or the Marine Plan Partnership. That partnership resulted in 4 sub-regional plans being done for the coast: North Vancouver Island, Central Coast, Haida Gwaii, and North Coast. Since that time, the Nanwakolas Council, on behalf of its member First Nations, has been working with the province to implement the plan for North Vancouver Island.
The coastal First Nations and the marine environment, they were very codependent on each other. Our people lived very prosperously. Like, there was always an abundance of fish. There was a lot more trees. Our people, they knew how to manage everything so that there would always be enough to go around. There was a lot more of a connection between the people and the land.
The people that lived in called this home and actually had their homes built here, they were very, very easily fed from the water just from this one river system, let alone the whole tidal pools and all the underwater life that they could have harvested in them days.
So everything that would be gathered, you can pretty much find it on low tide. The beach was the grocery store back then.
I think we were really, really lucky because we had everything. We didn't ever have to go hungry. No one hungry because they always had lots of food.
One of the things that, our people were very good at was observing nature and understanding the processes, even though we didn't have the scientific method and whatnot. And it gave us the opportunity to really understand our environment. And then, of course, being good observers, we understood over time changes and impacts and other things. In the past, we lost a lot of our knowledge due to certain events. In the 1860s, the smallpox epidemic wiped out up to, in some areas, 90% of our population. In recent times, tuberculosis has been very impactful. And then as well, we have the legacy of the residential schools, all impacted not only our populations, but also our localized knowledge. And it is important for us to continue to do our monitoring to see and document changes to our environment in order to make better stewardship practices, but also compare historically to some of the information we had from some of our ancestors, as we no longer have that available to us.
We have all kinds of threats out there. I mean, logging, overfishing, mismanagement of certain types of things, and then declining fish stocks and everything, which are harming some of the other mammals. And we have other ocean mammals moving in that are starting to deplete other stocks. So really it's, trying to find that balance in Mother Nature that's really not there anymore.
So any of the work we can do to understand our environment again is like building up those libraries and really understanding the impacts. In this day and age, with a lot of the government agencies, they're actually looking more and more to us to help them with that knowledge base.
First Nations people have been here since time immemorial, and we will continue to be here. So we need to build an economic foundation that gives us the ability to both work and exist in our territories. I think it's important for First Nations to continue to drive the timeline when it comes to sustainable marine management. And as we've seen through the Marine Planning Partnership, we've been able to scale that back a little bit to make sure that we're protecting the social issues, the ecological issues, but also understanding the importance of strong economy in the area.
It's an opportunity for us to work together, understand some of our shared work priorities, share tools and techniques, and also just incorporate First Nations government and programs into our work in parks and protected areas, many of which fall within traditional territories.
So we're really hopeful within the next 2 years to have these plans fully implemented and underway so we can start to learn from them, so we can continue to start to make decisions that are in the best interests of the coast.
Generally, We're there as stewards of the land and the sea, from the top of the mountains to the bottom of the ocean. We spend a lot of our time, because of where we are geographically, partnering with a lot of other stewardship groups within our territory to do things like stream rehabilitation, archaeology work. We spend a lot of time working with our youth and elders, running programs on the reserve. Some of the stuff getting people back out on the land and doing more traditional stuff, eating more traditional foods, living a healthier life.
We really, really want to take the lead in taking care of our resources again. We always looked at ourselves as keepers and stewards of the land, not owners.
Being a guardian, it's pretty much already what our people were doing way back in the day, but with all this new science and different ways to survey, it's only added to our toolbox so we can help our people.
The guardian job is actually a dream job for me, because I'm getting paid to be out on the land, out on the water, to educate and share with people the knowledge that I've been blessed with from our elders before, and still continue to learn, because that's one of the best parts of this job, is you're continuously learning. And I think if you ever stop learning, then life's going to be pretty stagnant.
The guardians are monitoring kelp and eelgrass ecosystems because these support a lot of biodiversity and a lot of the species that are important on our coasts here in British Columbia. Kelp and eelgrass are important nursery habitats for species like herring and rockfish. They also support other species like crabs and abalone, so things that are important both to the ecosystem but also for people, because they're things that we harvest and use for food and other products. In addition, the guardians are monitoring a number of environmental variables. Things like salinity and temperature of the ocean can also affect the health of kelp and eelgrass. By understanding the effects, we can improve our understanding of the ecosystem and help inform important decisions that can support healthy oceans.
We're just in the early stages, the first couple of years of our environmental-based monitoring. After another year or two, we're really going to start to see trends and whether or not certain things in the environment are increasing or decreasing.
These places are important to protect for a lot of reasons. One is culturally, they have meaning, they have stories, they have meaning to the communities when they're out here doing the work as guardians and taking care of their territory. There's also the fact that there's knowledge built into these places that really haven't been tapped into. There's cultural oral traditions, but a lot of the guardians see the value of doing archaeology to learn more about these places in a different angle, just a different perspective.
We'd like to protect the cultural heritage of those areas, especially for our nation. So there's a lot of areas that are known to have the shell maiden or burial sites within the last few hundred years. So we'd like to have them recorded in our system so we can share this with our future generations.
We go up to the head and do patrols and check it out, and on our way we'll check out new areas and been doing a lot of archaeology. Now we have the skills to find more archaeology sites, sacred sites that we've seen. There's lots up there and they just haven't been explored.
One of the economic drivers that we're looking for in our territories is a strong ecotourism-based economy. We understand that the more limited environmental footprint, the more sustainable our business operations will be. So we're looking at ways of taking our beautiful traditional territories and complementing them and showing the world a little bit about where we're from and what we're all about.
A lot of the things that North Vancouver Island have to offer include whales blowing in the distance, the wildlife that's along the shorelines and forests and marine areas, the spectacular weather that we have through the summer months, as well as a really rich culture that more defines what Vancouver Island is. So all those things together provide this opportunity for visitors that is really unparalleled in other parts of North America or around the world. So it tends to draw people here in pretty great numbers.
Bear viewing is a growth industry. It's been a growth industry for some time. Indigenous tourism is also a growth industry. So the combination of those two is really creating an environment in which there's opportunities for the nations and the people within those nations to start looking towards tourism as an economic driver.
One of the priorities of MAP was to identify a lot of the sensitive environmental, ecological, cultural sites. And by knowing where these things are and what areas are of significance, we can learn about them some more, as well as know which sites are better to be avoided or left alone, and manage our visitation appropriately so that we can do our best to educate people, but also not exploit the areas that we really depend on.
I think we need to do a little more of the education part so that people understand that when they do come into areas that we consider fairly pristine, that they are leaving a footprint. For me, the more we can share in the way of knowledge will improve things for everybody.
The future for the Comox Guardian Department, I think, is very bright. We'll have 7 employees this summer with our summer students coming on. Within the next 5 to 10 years, I would like to see our department have, up to 8 full-time employees and maybe 4 to 6 summer students every year. The first student we ever hired is now taking off to college here within the next year to continue his studies and then come back and be a guardian after. Yeah, so we're really proud of that fact.
As guardians, it's really important, the work we do, to sort of maybe help establish some of that knowledge again and observe the changes, especially with things like climate change and other impacts and stresses and population growth. So the work we do is paramount. The more the information and data and knowledge that we can collect, the better for everyone. So in the future, I would like to continue developing the relationships with many different groups. And we work a lot with government organizations, other First Nations, biologists, tourist groups. By working with these groups, we've been able to accomplish a lot in the last 4 years. And I hope to continue to develop these relationships and new ones as well. So by us all working together, I think we all have the same end game, that is to have healthy natural resources for not only us, but into the future for everyone.